Should we do this? Did you just finish your
I didn't know if we were supposed to say goodbye either. I didn't know if you were supposed to.
Well, thank you so much for coming and visiting our space today. This is such an honor. Absolutely. Tell us really quickly, refresh my memory, how do we connect, or how do we get connected? I mean, we met I think, weeks ago or about a month ago?
Yeah, so I think we met a month ago at the CAR event.
That's right.
It's a Young Professionals Network. It's a wonderful breakfast that they do at the end of the month.
Manny's Deli, is that right?
Manny's Deli. I think President Obama spoke in there. I think a couple other celebrities. So it's one of those diamond in the roughs. It looks a little rough, but it's a diamond once you get inside.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if you were presented
at
the
no
beginning
idea.
by Miss Grace, the lovely Grace.
Yes. Shout out Grace, right?
Yeah, shout out Grace. She was there this morning as well. And I think
there was an event today.
After.
Yeah, I forgot.
Yes, there was.
Okay.
It was a wonderful event this morning. And I was wearing a green jacket. I think I liked your jacket.
Yes, and I loved yours because it was very neighborhood loans and
exactly.
And I said in the best way possible that you reminded me of a very good version of Iggy.
Yes.
Right? And then, am I wrong? Like, do you see that or no?
And I think I said, "You mean Iggy Azalea?" And you're like, "What other Iggy's do you
know?"
And the rest is history.
That's right. And then it took us about a month and a half to set this up. And we are so honored that you're here today. We just, I think so many young professionals and people that are just getting out of college or don't know the direction they want to take, I think they're going to be so inspired at the end of this, sort of some of these videos that we're going to create for them. And walk us through your journey. Tell us why and how did you get into lending?
Sure. So I think lending is one of those things that people don't grow up saying they want to do. No one's 10 years old and says, "I want to be a mortgage lender," right? It's something you kind of fall into.
Certainly.
I had the beautiful blessing of having my dad teach me. He's been in this business for about 30 years.
Wow.
And so he sat me down and I just watched him and learned from him and kind of took in all of his mistakes for about 2 years. And like we were talking about before, this business is definitely not something you can learn from a textbook.
No.
So it's definitely very beneficial, and I couldn't think of someone that wanted me to succeed more. So that's kind of how I started, and over time, I've just fallen in love with real estate, with lending, with people. I think this business is all about personalities, matching up different kinds of people, working with emotions. So
Very true.
At the end of the day, you have to definitely know how to read a room, right? But it's wonderful. I think, too, to mention, not every business is like this. The more you put in, the more you get out. And that's not like every job, so.
Yeah, so break that down for us more. I mean, is it more hours? Is it more connections? Is it more networking? Is it more prospecting? When you say the more we put in, the more we get out, what does that mean in your world?
So I think especially being younger or starting, being a couple years into any industry, you have to put your hours in.
That's right.
A lot of people that transition from maybe school to work is different. You're used to having free time, you're used to getting an assignment done and moving on. That's not how work is. Lots of times it's the long run, right? It's building that network, business with people, connections, relationships, friendships, and stuff like that takes time.
Yeah.
It's a long run game, but in the end, I think it really helps people.
I love it. So tell us officially what your title is, what do you do for a living, and what about it do you enjoy the most?
My name is Bella. I'm a mortgage loan originator out of Downers Grove. We have a couple different offices, but Illinois is our main stomping ground. And what I love about it is you get to work with people every day, and you'll never get the same situation, the same type of loan. That's what keeps it interesting.
I love it. And then you fell in this job right out of college, right?
In college, yes.
In college.
I started working in college when the pandemic hit. We had time. I was taking some online classes just to finish up my degree. I went to the wonderful University of Illinois, go Illini. And I started in college, and then right after graduation, I started working, I think a week later. Did not get that break, that gap year, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I think working in this type of industry, if you love it, it doesn't seem like work. And I know that is so cliche, But in real
Yeah,
estate,
no,
you're
but it's
working
not. I get
7
it.
days a
You're
week,
right. Yeah.
So you have to like it.
Yeah, I mean, for real estate agents, we're dime a dozen, right? And the only way we can differentiate ourselves is to be experts in the field and to outwork everyone else, right? Those are the only two things. Otherwise, anyone can really do, as long as they're experts in their market, kind of what we do. But just the only way you can outwork someone, that is the differentiator. So is that how it is in lending side as well? That you have to hustle, you have to be aggressive, you have to communicate, over communicate at times, you have to be creative and all of that. What are some of the key differentiators that'll separate you from any other loan officer?
Definitely. I think we just go back to the basics. At my company, at Neighborhood Loans, there's something special about understanding that there's a person on the other end of the phone. I think nowadays we kind of fall into texts, emails, very digital platforms, even social media. I've had borrowers reach out, but it's so important to either get on the phone, really understand what they want, and then kind of the follow-up, right? So things people may not do anymore. Handwritten thank you cards, going to closings, closing gifts, following up with them after birthdays, anniversaries, making sure that they're your lifetime client, not just another number for the month.
Wow, very cool. So you show up to all your closings?
I try to. If I can make it, I'm there.
That's awesome.
Yes,
That's
it
so
really
cool.
makes buyers feel special. You know, this is probably the biggest day of their life, especially I work with a lot of first-time home buyers. A lot of people in their 20s, this is the biggest thing they've ever done. They have their parents there, they want the real estate agent there, why should I not be there? You know, we've worked together for a long time. Some of these people have had long house searches and you know, the hard work is paid off and I just want to be there to celebrate.
I love that. So how often are you in contact with them after you close with them?
We really try to keep to our CRM specific dates. So anniversaries, like home anniversaries, birthdays, stuff like that. I also, I don't try to overstep, but if we are friends beforehand, we're already following each other on social media, or if we want to be friends afterwards, we can do that as well. So I'm very much active in their lives, swiping up, asking about their kids, stuff like that. I try to have it be very organic. So if I'm calling on birthdays and anniversaries, yes, I know the date ahead of time, but sometimes those calls just to see how people are, they just, you know, you never know how long it could go, or how long of a ways it could go for someone, you know?
So
and I think that's similar for you too, right? Like you guys are always calling, keeping in touch with your clients, even if they've closed
sphere of
5 years
influence.
ago.
Yeah, totally. We got to check in. Right? Do you need a handy guy? Do you need a contractor? Do you, how's Timmy doing? All that. Yeah, for sure. Like it's very similar when it comes to customer service, post-close especially. Where do you see yourself in 2 years, and where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Sure. Wow. So I should preface this with I never want to stop learning, but I would like to keep growing.
Okay.
So I would hope by 2 years I would have my own team. I've kind of started the process now, but I really want to make sure I'm choosing the right individuals. As I can see from you and your team here, you have really picked specific people to grow your business and to make it exactly how you want it, and that's something that I would like to model after, you know, in due time. In 5 years, I just hope to continue to grow, make relationships, foster those ones that I've been starting in my first couple years, and I think that's where
I love that.
5.
Do you see yourself always being in lending now and just being the best, the top of the ladder, or do you?
Real estate, to be honest
I was gonna
with you.
say, like a lot of times people would be like, okay, well, Bella, I mean, I can see her being more client facing and just being more in the real estate side. Is that something maybe the future holds?
I'm trying to bring the client facing into lending as much as it's not. It's finance. I do still think there's an element that people kind of crave. They want that personalized, tailored touch. So I'm trying to keep that in lending. But yeah, with the real estate, I think there's so many opportunities. They're very similar, and I think I could grow maybe skills over the next 2 to 5 years if we're talking about that, but I'm always open.
I love that. So since we're talking about skills, and since you're on the lending side, what are some of give me 3 most common mistakes real estate agents are making that you even know that, okay, these are so obvious, like, well, how are people doing these? But what do you think?
I would say listening.
Okay.
People don't listen. It's so important to understand what someone's trying to get across to you. I think all too often, and I find myself doing it too. I'm trying to fill in the blanks for people. I try to finish their sentences, and over time I've kind of learned that in sales, sometimes the best salespeople just stay quiet until the very end. And I think it's a skill a lot of people need to acquire.
Certainly.
Another thing, just off the top of my head, I think professionalism.
It's a good one.
Growing up, my parents have always said, dress to impress, dress like you're going to an interview every day.
Yeah.
I remember going to school, all my friends would be wearing sweatpants, right? And they would say, no, you can't do that. I went to a public school, I didn't have a uniform.
Right.
But they were still like, no, you have to dress professional, right?
Yeah.
This creates your reputation, it creates how people perceive you. You're essentially your walking business card.
Love it.
So that is something that I know you have taken as well. Sometimes I wonder if you even sleep in a suit, because I don't think I've ever not seen him
It's
in
true,
a
I do,
suit.
because I'm always working. I just pass out in a suit and I wake up in a suit. But no, that's very true. That's so cool. Any others that you can think of top of your head?
I guess back to the professionalism, just making sure that even if you're working with friends and stuff, that there's still that level of being on time, dressing appropriately, being prepared and ready, like you would be prepared for a listing or for showing a property. I need to be prepared on my call. I need to look at everything, understand what you're coming for.
Yeah, not winging it.
Because I feel like time is money for a lot of people, so you have to keep that in mind as well.
I love that. So communication, right? Listening. I think when you're talking, you're out of control. And when you're listening, you're in control. When in a sales setting specifically, right? And I'm a huge Jordan Belfort fan, and I've read his books, and I've read his like I've seen his audio clips, YouTube, like out a couple of million, 500,000 are probably me. But that's what he talks about. He's like, they're healthy boundaries, right? Every single sale is the same from left to right, it's a straight line, but then they're wavelengths. And then you got to keep your clients within healthy boundaries. And if you're talking, you're doing all the talking, then you're out of control.
Right.
And then if the clients are doing all the talking, then you're in control because you're collecting data. That's the intel. Second thing you said is professionalism. I can tell you that I've gotten at least 2 or, I would say, out of 10 listings, 2 I get just because even if there's another person equally same caliber, skill set, right, reputation, everything, I think just dressing better would just get me that listing. I've gotten more business because of just dressing up. I
It's
think.
crazy to think that appearances can sometimes even win over experience, whatnot, and not even just like what you're wearing, but how you talk, right? How you answer questions. So yeah, appearances is huge in real estate, I feel like.
Yeah, I love something you said. You're your own walking business card. I think that's a very powerful statement. And no, it's my dad used to say, dress up for the position you wanna be and become, and where you're going, not where you are right now. So. That sort of resonated with me at a very young age. He used to wear these double-breasted suits. He's a physician, and yeah, so I've kind of gotten a lot of my fashion skill set from him as well.
So how did your dad feel? Did he want you to go? Well, I know you're...
In medicine?
Yes.
As an immigrant? Yeah, there are only 2 options, right? Engineering and doctor.
Or medicine and law.
Or yeah.
That was me.
So my dad was one of the very rare people who's like, I don't care what you do, I just want you to be the best at it. If you want to be an artist, be the best artist. If you want to be a musician, be the best musician. If you want to be a janitor, be the best janitor. Like whatever you do, like just reach the peak over there and then just the pinnacle and be the ultimate sort of the level of success. And that's what so he didn't want to be a physician. He was forced into it. He's got 6 other siblings or 7 other siblings, and I should know that, right? I should know exactly how many siblings he has. That should, but so in his family, they had engineers and lawyers and business people, and then the only one career that was missing was a physician, a doctor. So, and he was the youngest, so he was forced to then become a doctor. So he's like, I'm never gonna force it upon my kids. So yeah, no, my younger brother's an engineer. He's a sort of a plant manager for Honeywell. My youngest one is also kind of in a business, and he has his own power washing business and a few other entrepreneur sort of things he's doing. But yeah, no, things are good. What about you? Do you have any siblings? Do you get along with them? I mean, tell me a little bit more about that.
I do, and I also resonate with your immigrant father. I have an immigrant father as well, and I think the work ethic that they just that naturally comes off of them has been, I don't know, life-changing to have growing up. And all of my siblings have taken advantage of that. I do have an older brother. His name's Matthew. He's going the medicine route.
Of course he is.
Yes, he
The
is
firstborn.
He
Yes.
does pediatric research at Rush.
Oh, that's cool.
He also went to U of I. It's interesting. My brother and I are just over a year apart.
Okay.
We're very close.
Yeah.
He also went to U of I, and it was interesting. Every year in college, he was always like a block away from me. No matter where we were, always keeping an eye on me, protecting his younger sister. So I love him with everything I am, and he's also like my biggest promoter. He'll be anywhere at work, and he's like, do you know anyone buying a house? And you know anyone that needs to refi?
Talk to my sister, yeah.
And so, you know, that's a wonderful marketing tool
Yeah,
right there, because your
I love it.
family's the best.
Biggest advocates.
The best advocates. And then I have a younger sister who has just started in U of I, another fellow Illini, I know. And she'll probably go the law track. So we got a doctor, a lawyer, and then real estate. So
I love that.
Every family needs a real estate.
Yeah, that's so cool. You guys complete every single transaction
Yep.
right there, pretty
Yep.
much. That's so cool. So,
Market's very interesting in Dubai. Are you guys thinking about maybe taking the Kmart Group international?
yeah.
Or?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because we have gotten so many emails recently from these companies that are trying to bridge the gap from Middle East and sort of the UAE, the Emirates, into United States. Because a lot of people want to invest into these safe havens. United States is a very sort of stabilized, tangible real estate market. The capital over here is obviously performs a lot better. Rental income's a lot stronger. So there are a bunch of people who are reaching out saying that, hey, listen, let's start a REIT and then just like start developing some pockets so we can start investing over here. So we're thinking about that. I mean, we're always thinking about expansion, right? So, but for me, expansion shouldn't be something like, okay, I want to go to Florida. I want to go to like, you know, it should be something that's within reach until you've obtained enough market share, right? So I know too many people that are like, they'll sell like $5 million in Chicago and they're like, all right, time for New York, time for Florida. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but there's so much more opportunity here that you have to capture before you can start going to Florida. That's another massive market. So, and that's why we just broke into Milwaukee, because it's an hour and a half. Donnie and I were there yesterday. We're checking out some office spaces over there. One of our team members, Tori Osman, is leading that he's trailblazing that organization and that market right now, and we're doing pretty well over there. We're gonna probably do about 25 million, 30 million in Milwaukee, and we just started there. So the goal is to keep building that up. Then we're trying to break into St. Louis. We broke into Michigan now. A few other markets. Madison is another one. So the idea is that we want to have these mid-tier, sort of sub-tier markets, and then expand a little bit more national on the East and West Coast when you have a good infrastructure in the Midwest.
I think that's very smart too, because you're able to offer more to your clients.
Yeah.
If your clients are here in Chicago, but let's say they want a lake home, right, in Michigan or Wisconsin, or you have that ability to help them and say, yes, we have boots on the ground over there. We have people that are ready to go.
Yeah.
And that's a referral, but it's also a client that can now trust you in multiple areas. It differentiates you, you know, from other agents.
So true. I mean, within Compass Portal, I mean, there's so many agents, and every single day I'd see something saying that, hey, does anyone know anyone in St. Louis? Does anyone know a top broker in Madison? Right? So that's when it sort of triggered that, hey, there's so much opportunity. If we can just use the Compass Portal and leverage and all the brokers we work with, and then have a good amount of intra-team influx of referrals between these markets, then we can kind of keep a lot of business internally. We don't have to like refer it out. And that's really how you grow. So
and
for
it
us,
helps that you have a very diverse team as well,
Yeah.
right? People from all over that can speak different languages.
Yeah.
I mean, within the U.S., of course, but even if you know, plan to take it internationally, you have a really well-structured foundation here to do so.
Yeah, for sure. We're trying to take the blueprint and then, 10x every single blueprint in Grant Cardone's sort of language, and then replicate those markets in these different sub-tier areas that are underperforming or that are sort of hidden gems like Milwaukee, and that has so much opportunity but doesn't have enough competition. That if we can take this sort of Chicago sort of aggression and passion and go and expand over there, there's just tons of opportunity.
So speaking about competition in Chicago, what are you guys seeing in terms of people leaving Chicago? We've heard, I mean, leaving, I could mean even the suburbs, or leaving meaning leaving the state
The state
altogether.
itself? Yeah, this has been the third year with the largest reverse migration in state of, should we do this? Teddy just
I
finished
didn't know if you
your
were supposed to say goodbye either. I didn't know if you were supposed to.
Teddy just walks in looking at the camera. That'll be a great blooper reel, by the way. That's Teddy. This is Bella. Bella, Teddy. So we're just talking about like the largest reverse migration,
Yes.
third year in a row since World War II. So that just tells us like a lot of people are leaving Illinois. The rates certainly have something to do with it. The fact that COVID kind of allowed people to work from home, they chose not to be in Illinois because they can work from home. And above all, the property taxes, right? That's kind of what we saw. And people they're like, hey, listen, if we're gonna work from home, let's go after a nicer weather. Let's go more east or west coast and stuff like that. What are some of the markets you saw kind of booming, like different? And you lend in multiple states, right?
Correct.
Let's talk about that. How many states do you lend in right now?
So I lend in a couple, but I'd have to say, to answer your question, Florida right now.
Yeah.
I just take a deep breath when I think about it. The Naples market specifically, and I talk about the west side of Florida because I feel that people from Illinois go to the west side, so Naples, Sarasota, Fort Myers, right, Marco Island, and I think people from New York tend to go to the other side, so Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Boca.
That's interesting. Okay.
Just from what I've seen, and my family and I love Naples. I think eventually I would love to end up there, maybe do a little migration out of Illinois myself. But with the Naples market, I think it's insane the amount of new construction that's going on, the amount of agents that are moving down there. It's very interesting to see, too, properties come on the market and then get listed a month later for $1-2 million or more. Yeah. Nothing's done. It's just how the market is. That's so crazy. It's wild. I feel like it's nothing like they've ever seen before. And if you can get in at a good time, I would highly suggest it to anyone that's thinking about a second home. Yeah,
that's so cool. Do you see that trend kind of following for a while, or do you think that's going to sort of there's going to be a pullback or kind of rescind a little bit in the future?
I think the way that the market's going right now, to kind of echo your ideas about taxes and stuff in Illinois, if things don't change here, I don't foresee them changing in Florida, meaning I still think people are going to be moving down there. We're definitely not going to be able to change winter, right? That's always going to happen every year. So I think people are starting to see that it's a wonderful sunny place down there, which it is.
Yeah, we notice a lot of snowbirds, right? We call them, like these people that have kind of now retiring, and they would stay here during summertime or winter time. They'd be in Florida, and summertime here enjoying Chicago.
And it's not all elderly people anymore.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, do you see a shift now? Are you seeing a little shift where it's younger and millennials and maybe younger people kind of also moving, migrating there?
Tons of young families moving down there, and it's interesting. What they do is they put their kids in school for the regular school year, let's say August to June, sometimes May, and then they come back here for the summers. And they have a place here, so it's almost like Chicago's their second home. And for younger kids, it works out. Kids are flexible, right? They make friends wherever, but it allows their parents to kind of put them in two different settings. They can grow up, have different experiences, right? Totally. Experience different cities. I think the wonderful thing about Florida too, we think here in Illinois we have Chicago. In Florida you have Miami.
So many markets.
Everywhere you can travel.
Orlando.
To.
You've got you've got tons of different markets.
And there's a lot of opportunity down there. I think everyone knows Florida to be very international, right? Especially if you think about places like Miami. So I feel like there's always something going on, lots of opportunity again.
I think you have to almost know Spanish if you're living in Florida.
You gotta start practicing.
I've got my Rosetta Stone in the office. Well, Bella, thank you so much for taking time out today. This was so cool, and I can't wait to continue this dialogue maybe in the future as well. And then if you're ever looking for a real estate team to be a part of and expand, well, we'd love to have you on board and help us grow Florida market and take the lead on that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming in.